Hi again then guys, and welcome to another special projects replica build, and today we've gone for a slightly more obscure vehicle, one which probably won't be as popular, but I often do vehicles on this channel which are more obscure, tunes for them, reviews for them, etc. And in particular this replica is more for specific fans of the car, people who would like to have this car on the game, but it isn't on the game. So this is about as close to it as we can currently get. And the car that we're replicating is the top performance model of the newer shape Vauxhall Vectra, the VXR version. Now as far as the visuals, it's a non-premium car, so there's obviously not a huge amount that you can do to it. But we have made some visual changes, primarily the colour and the rims, and there is room for personal variation there as well. So we'll go over first of all to the visual tuning garage just for a quick run over of that. Then we'll go over to the mechanical garage for the more important thing, which is of course the mechanical setup, and then finally take it out to the track to see how it performs. So as far as the visual setup, we've gone for inch up one on the rims, and the particular rims that we've gone for are, when we scroll down to them, these Oz NV4H rims. Now they're not of course exactly the same as the real rims, and there are some rims which look kind of similar, so as I said there is room for personal variation, but these are, as far as I could see, one of the more close types of rims to the actual VXR's wheels. Now as far as the colour, because of course there aren't any other body modifications that you need to do on this, I've gone for a pearlescent body colour, and obviously it's a production model so the colour doesn't really matter that much. But, and this seems to be happening more and more lately for some reason, the colour is Captivate Blue Pearl, which as you can see is a pearlescent colour, but according to the source that I looked up, which is a source of all the paint jobs on Gran Turismo, this colour is supposedly from Volkswagen. But I looked through all of their cars and I could not find this colour. So if you can find that colour, and of course if you want that colour, you'll have to find it, I guess, because it says it's Volkswagen but I couldn't find it. Now obviously there are plenty of colours to go for, different blues, different colours entirely, but that's just the colour that I went for. And as far as the rims do come in a silver anyway, so you don't technically speaking need to change them, but I just wanted them to be a slightly brighter silver, which I've gone for bright silver metallic, which actually comes from the Daihatsu dealership, primarily the Daihatsu Copen. So that's it for the visual setup overall. Obviously personal variation abounds with different rims, different colours, different body colours, etc. But now we'll go over to the most important thing for this particular build, and that is of course the mechanical setup. Now in order to achieve this tune there are a specific couple of things that you need to do with regard to the tuning, but we'll get to that in just a second. It is of course a production based tune, so I've gone for sport soft tyres. I've left the brakes standard because again it is a production replica, you don't want it to be too good. As far as the suspension, I've actually got the front ride height 10mm lower than the rear because the car naturally sits a little bit lower at the back and you don't really want that. Springs we've got on 550 and 4. The dampers I've just stiffened up a little bit to 4 all round. Anti-roll we've left on 3. We've got neutral camber and tow. We'll come back to the gearbox last. As far as the diff, we've got the initial torque, acceleration and braking, as you can see, all as low as possible. And this car actually handles extremely well for a vehicle of its size. Like with the brakes, I've left the clutch and flywheel standard because it's a production model, so again you don't want to make it feel too much like a track car. As far as the power, the actual Vectra VXR runs 280 horsepower, so we've got a stage 3 engine tune, sports computer, race exhaust, manifold, cat and intake tuning, plus an oil change, and the reason why we've done that is so that you can get 280 horsepower but also get it all the way up to 450 pp. Now you can get 280 horsepower without fitting all of those things, but your PP will be much lower and you won't have anywhere near as much torque. So obviously, again, there's room for variation. It depends how you want to go about the tune. If you don't care about making it PP relevant, then just fit the parts necessary to get 280 horsepower. As far as the weight, we've got the full weight loss package and then added 162 kilos to bring us up to the actual weight of the car, and then we've put that ballast all the way to the rear to improve the weight balance to stop it from lunging under braking as much. And finally, for the gearbox, and this is another point which requires something a little bit different to usual, because for this car you need to do a gearbox flip, and in order to do that you need to take the gearbox to its stock form, so reset to default, then take your auto setting and put it all the way up to 261, then come back down to your final drive, put it down to 3.4, then come back up to your auto setting, click it down and up a peg back to 261, and that will then allow you to reach the actual gears of the real car, which are 3077 or 3770 even, 2040, 1370, 1050, 850 and 710, with a final drive of 3.55. So that's it overall for the mechanical setup. As far as the power, of course, as I said, there is more room for personal variation, but that's it overall for the mechanical setup, and it's pretty good PP wise as well. It has quite a bit of power for that PP level. So now let's finally take it out to a circuit to see how it feels. Now, as I said, of course, at the outset of this build, this is not a replica for everyone. Most of my replicas tend to be universal to some degree. This is purely for specific fans of the car. If you're not a fan of the Vectra VXR, you'll probably find it kind of unnecessary, maybe even a little bit dull. If, however, you like the car and you want a representation of the VXR version, then it is definitely fun to drive. The 280 horsepower at 450 pp means that it's actually pretty competitive as well, and the handling for a car of its size is excellent. So, if you decide to use this replica build, obviously I hope you find it fun and potentially competitive, and feel free to subscribe for more like this in the future. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.